Don't put this part in the show. I was just playing with all the green.
Oh, God. Oh, wow.
You know.
Really? Because, like, okay, I'll talk.
Well, don't you want us to cut that out?
I don't care.
He don't care. Right, there you go.
Are you sure?
I don't care.
I mean, it's not hard.
It's really not a big deal.
It's hard now.
So
it's just funny.
So
how hard is it?
Really hard.
Oh, God.
Well, you know what? That sounds disgusting to have three guys sitting on the couch talking about how hard you are.
Especially after all that seafood.
Yeah.
We went to eat seafood all you can eat buffet tonight.
And
I think we're food drunk. You know, it seems like we always start this show out being food drunk.
We do.
I think
Hump's taking pictures, which is a good thing. That did really good last week. Hump's taking pictures. Getting
me with my friggin' gloves.
There you go. Make that pause.
Oh, hold on.
Just that nice audible pause while we take a picture.
No, you got it.
Hump's taking a picture for everybody.
Everybody listening, just hold on, because we got to do this. Apparently,
it's
right now.
It's important.
Well, for the people that are listening, need to add the YouTube subscription midnight at the Crossroads.
We do need help. Everybody out there listening to help promote our show, get everybody to know about the YouTube channel, and get everybody involved and help follow along. If you enjoy what we're doing.
Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Hit the
Push
like button.
the like button.
And the subscribe button.
So what's the best way to kind of get the show started, man? I know Jake said he wanted some serious topics.
No, I just said, those... I was listening to the H3 podcast, and they had this rapper Post Malone on there, and the Filthy Frank dude.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they were all drinking like this big case of Bud Light and smoking. They got on ghost stories. And just hearing someone that isn't connected to the world of the paranormal at all talk about it again was kind of refreshing, frankly.
Yeah.
Just kind of put me in the mood to, hey, maybe we might want to do that. And then I got just shot the fuck down.
Wow. We didn't shoot you down, Jake.
Well, this ghost story thing, you're right. You got to be in the right mood to do it.
You do, and I was just asking, are y'all in the right mood? And they just kicked me right in the nuts.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, do y'all want to share a ghost story, see if we can get any of them entertaining enough to record?
The ghost of my nuts that y'all took.
Why don't you go tell us a ghost story if you got one, Jake?
See, look, don't push it on me.
Oh, there you go. You wanted to do ghost stories, and you're like, yeah, I don't feel like
Well, yeah, I didn't prepare, because guess what? I got shot down.
God.
I mean, I'm sure I could think of something. Let's see. Yep, trying. Gears are going. Gears are rusty. Need oil.
Okay.
You kicking around. You have a ghost story, huh?
I don't.
See?
I mean, that's not my forte, ghost stories. I mean, I've got a ton of stories.
Is this paranormal?
Is this a paranormal?
I was like, what the fuck are ghosts? Oh, this was the puss hour.
What? Yeah, that's a good one. God, well, share a story if you want to share a story.
Okay, listen up.
Oh, here we go.
What immediately came to my mind when they were telling those, and I'm going to have to try and help you kind of get through it, because I don't know all of
go
it.
ahead and help us. It's funny, before you get started, if you say, yeah, I really wasn't prepared, let me tell you this ghost story.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Well, the only one I could think of was one that wasn't mine. It was yours.
Well, go ahead and tell it.
I only know kind of the bare bones of it, where you said that there was this bridge where, on the way to church,
Yeah.
your grandmother would always point it out to you and say, that's the Sandman's Bridge.
Yes.
And from what I remember, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the Sandman basically took kids that wouldn't go to sleep.
Yes.
Was there any more to that, or was that just something
Basically, the Sandman was basically, here's the gist of the story of the Sandman, how it was told to me as a kid, is going to church. I used to hate going to church early in the morning, and then turn around and go that night again. And,
Lord, you went at night?
Yeah, we went at night too. And we'd go over this bridge, and we went to church way out in the country. And my grandmother would talk about this is where the Sandman's at. And basically, I think a lot of the kids talk about the Sandman as kind of a sweet kid thing, I think. Isn't it normally?
Well, in popular culture lately, and the biggest thing I can think of is the Rise of the Guardians movie, where the Sandman's a good guy.
Okay.
It's just a thing that nurtures good dreams in children.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Really whitewashed.
Well, basically, the Sandman was always taught to me. If he lived there up under that bridge, they came from that water source, and basically, if you was a bad kid, and if you did bad things, and if you wouldn't go to bed on time, if you was just a bad kid, when you did go to bed at night, he would basically come and take your soul.
Well, there you go.
And it would almost like it would haunt you before it would get you. Like she would always say, like I see him outside, or I hear him, or
that is fucking horrible.
There's nothing worse than being laying in bed at night, and you've had one of your kind of mean kid days,
Yeah.
And she was like, "Get out!" She was like, "It's just a Sandman," and you sitting there.
Your anus just slaps shut.
Yes. And it kind of changes how you look at things and what really comes at night. And, me as a kid growing up, I've had weird experiences as a kid, and I've always kind of been attuned to things. And to think about a creature coming in your dream state, coming down, and it would leave watermarks, like when it would show up, because it would come from the water, like when it was around and about, it would leave water.
Yeah.
And then like...
did she put water around?
She didn't, but she should have.
That would have... Ooh.
But I tell you what did scare me, and she never did it, would be at night, like in the mornings you wake up, and we had window units.
Yeah.
And you know how it leaves the condensation on the thing?
Yeah.
And I would look and wonder if it was a Sandman watching me out the window.
Scarred.
But that was... and it was always described as a shadow figure. It would come, as a shadowy figure. That's how it would show up, but it would leave watermarks and...
It almost sounds like kind of a bastardization of like a Native American thing.
Yeah.
But
a lot of
water source
it was. Yeah, it was. It very much so. And mostly, like we've talked about, most of the things growing up comes from that Native American source, in that background.
Yeah.
With the stories of the shapeshifters and you name it, the bird clans and different things like that.
The bird clans.
Yeah, my grandmother would always. I told you about that. You
probably did. I just
like in a lot of the Creek cultures and I guess Cherokee culture and stuff like that. I guess they would have a lot of different. They would have clans, and everybody wants to. I don't want to offend anybody, but everybody now wants to be from the Wolf Clan. There was.
Yeah.
And you would literally be taken, like, let's say, like this is. I'm gonna explain it how my grandmother always explained it, and how my grandmother explained it might not be in popular culture, might not be in books, but how it was taught to me, right? Let's say if you had families, and let's say I had a kid, and that kid showed certain signs where he would fit with another part of the family that was maybe like the Wolf Clan, or maybe was the Bird Clan, and he would actually be raised by them sometimes, especially if you was within the Bird Clan, that's who you would raise, because that was more of your medicine people and your spiritual people was from the Bird Clan, and they used the birds for a lot of their messengers and a lot of that thing, so on. So, like, when I told you about stories I've had with the hawk showing up at the school, it flew over the field, the things with the red birds and stuff, my grandmother's always talked about that. She would even sit outside on the front porch and, coo and talk to them, and she would tell me that was so-and-so, like a loved one that's passed away, that would visit, that was connected to us, a family member. So it falls into the clans, and was always acknowledged to be the Bird Clan, from the Bird Clan.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, that's something that was always...
My memory's terrible.
And that came in the thing, you remember that Yos Ray back, and Hunt might remember it too, when we was traveling around speaking, and then we was in Pensacola, and that psychic says, you got a real large, angry Native American man behind you.
Yeah, I remember that.
And remember we laughed about it. Then we was in then we was in Louisville, Kentucky, and the psychic said, you got a really large Native American that's angry that's behind you. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then we had some psychics on our show, and the lady, I can't remember the lady's name, one of them would read, another one would do these drawings.
Courtney Kane and somebody, right?
Yeah, and they said, one of them said, you have a really large, angry Native American behind you. And that's kind of when we kind of got in tune a little bit with the past and stuff and our culture and different things, and that kind of turned, and that was a long time ago.
Those Pensacola psychic fairs.
Because we used to have a good time with that.
You remember when we all drank the 5-hour energy and me and David threw it back up like almost immediately?
And remember I went to sleep and almost died. I didn't wake up. I woke up, I didn't know where we was at.
You thought we missed everything, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. And no one woke you up. And you were yelling and
He was
angry.
mad.
I woke up angry.
You only slept for like 2 hours.
I think that was about the best sleep I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Even
You
to
still
this day.
remember that sleep.
God, that was amazing. I don't ever sleep well, but I slept good that day.
Poor Trevor got dusted.
God.
You know, I was just sitting here thinking, I do have a little story.
All right, hit us up with a little story.
Bear Creek Swamp at the well, the little people. Where, was it the girl from Arkansas drove down and wrote the book about the Indians and the little people in the whale? The little troll-like people?
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool story.
Well, you know, he's talking about the Bear Creek Swamp, and you know those, I can't remember the TV show, the Paranormal Ghost Hunter guys, the Hillbilly guys. They actually went to Bear Creek Swamp and filmed something. Jeremy was on that episode when they went to
I
travel.
remember that.
Yeah.
We still don't let him.
But you know, Bear Creek Swamp was a Native American area, and they have natural springs, and the Tallgeek tribe was there, and that was a lot of the spiritual tribe and so on, and they used those waters as healing waters. And after the War of 1812, the Creek and Indian War, a lot of the people that volunteered and fought against the Creeks took that land over and settled it. But on that road, they have sightings of little people seen. They have monsters, shapeshifters, you name it's all reported on that road. And there was a dumpster a little ways right by one of the natural springs that came up from that spigot. And there was so many sightings of little people and people being seen, they actually had to move the dumpster.
Right, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah, and they actually had to move the dumpster because people kept having the sightings.
We've had some really weird stuff happen.
We've had really weird stuff. You know, one of the first things we did, it was me humping, I'm sorry. It was me humping Burnett there one night late, and we was just messing around. We had a microphone we set on top of Hump's truck. And remember, we were sitting there, and all of a sudden, something literally slapped. You hear a boom, and then something slaps the microphone off the truck.
Correct.
That was pretty interesting. And then we had another occasion where we was running these cameras that time, and it's practically impossible for cars to pass going in opposite direction, kind of get to the side.
It's too narrow, yeah.
Yeah. And we had a recording where these two vehicles was coming toward each other, but they never passed by. Only one vehicle passed, and they didn't turn off anywhere. You remember when that happened a long time ago?
I do. It was a Bear Creek Swamp. It was down the middle. You know, we had the first experience at the first, like, I call it Little Bridge, but it's really
Yeah, just to add
Like
to
a
the car
drain?
story real quick, Sean, tell me if I'm manufacturing this and I'm not remembering correctly,
Yeah.
but didn't the taillights and headlights pass us, but it didn't look like a car was there?
Yes, that's what it happened. That's what it was.
Like
Yep.
all you saw was the headlights and taillights of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it went right past us, and normally you'd see the car body because you're real close, but you couldn't make it out. It was too dark, oddly enough.
I couldn't remember. That's exactly what happened.
And then we were like, hey, check that. And then we radioed and we're like, hey, did you see that car? And they're like, no car down here.
I completely
But I'll
forgot
tell you-
about that. Yep.
something with that story. Remember when we got called back a month or so later about the occult? All the stuff going on?
Yeah.
Bear Creek.
Yeah, Bear Creek.
Yep.
Yeah, sure did. We did. But, you know, we've had numerous times where there's actually a cult going around.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, there's so many things about like, you know, over there's smoke, there's fire. And we've really never delved into that and really investigated that as much as we should have, as many times it's came up with us. We've looked into it, and we've actually got scared off a couple of times. But we just never really delved into it the way we need to delve into it.
Well, it was really hard to find any kind of lead chase, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to work really, really hard just to get any hint of what. And that threw a lot of doubt into it, but then you'd have like these really weird meetings with people. Like people would just kind of know who you are and come on up.
Yeah.
And you couldn't explain why they knew it was you, and then they'd tell you all about the cult. You're like, well, if they're crazy or they're making it up, why me? How do they know I'm anything to do with it?
Huh, what do you think about the cults out there and the satanic cults and all that stuff that's out there locally? You think
I
there more than people realize?
Absolutely. Satanic super soldiers are real. Satan's real. The occult's real. It's in our back doors. It's in the Tri-County area. And you don't have to be a rocket science to figure a lot of stuff out. There's a lot going on. And this is going to be totally off the wall, but You know, I think a lot of these cults have something to do with the trafficking of the kids. You know, that's a big deal now in the South. The sex slave trade is big. The underground stuff is just really big, and it's right here in our face. There's been a couple of cases throughout Georgia, Pensacola now, and Alabama with occult cases, with actual, I guess, homicide investigations. I thought the little girl, I sent a text to everybody today. I really thought the girl in Pensacola, the 12-year-old that got killed, I mean, I really thought it was just something really creepy and off about it. And I see they arrested the guy that was he was already a bad apple.
Yeah, what have you heard in stories about, like, satanic murders and stuff that people don't want to keep down, or like ritual abuse and things like that? Have you heard stories on that?
I mean, in the past couple of years, only a couple. And what's so funny is they always bring back up South Alabama, between Pensacola, Mississippi, and Alabama. It's that little triangle there. I don't know what it is. We used to joke about it. We used to talk about it on other shows. Something about South Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, and going across to Mississippi is just really weird. It's
kind of the gateway to the West.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you know, David, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you don't want to talk about it, I completely understand.
What's that?
I don't even know if you remember this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I came back from New Orleans, and we was talking about, you and I was having conversations about occult crimes. You remember?
Yeah.
And you and I was at Jason's Deli eating. And that gentleman and his mother came up to us.
Yes, I remember.
And started telling us and how creepy that the lady was.
Yes.
But what he told us was kind of like completely out of the blue, that he should have had no idea what was going on, who we were, what we was talking about. But he completely was telling us everything that we was already looking into. We thought secretly. Can you want to share anything on that?
Absolutely. I'll tell you something else that was wicked weird about that. A storm, a really bad storm, come out of nowhere, and it just seemed like it was hovering over Jason's Deli in the Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set
what?
this story up since someone wants to talk about it a little bit. I'm in New Orleans, right, and we did our tour, and we was kind of hanging out, and a guy we kind of know will end up telling me, you know, there's a serial killer active down here. And we was kind of like, well, that really don't surprise me, you know, because it's New Orleans. And he started saying, no, it's something going on in regards to these ladies that's being found supposedly drowned, wrecking their cars in the water. And he said there's also some instances where people are just going missing, which is not unusual in New Orleans, but some of them are turning up being found in warehouses. And he said there's something going on here, and I believe it's a serial killer and like a certain cult. I don't know what it is. And when I started looking into it while we was down there, we actually stayed an extra day. And I just got completely hooked. So I got home, and then I talked to Hump about it, and Hump said, well, let's go eat. And I'm not lying. It wasn't raining. It wasn't storming. It wasn't anything. And we walk into Jason's Deli. We order. We're sitting there eating. And then we look, and there sits a man and a woman. You could tell it was his mother. His mother had these glasses that was tinted inside, and you could look at there was like set up. She had the old lady hair, these tinted glasses that you couldn't see her eyes, so it was just completely offset. Well, he walks up and he knows David. He knew you, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I knew him. He comes up to the table, said, "Hey, how you doing?" And just, "Hey, did y'all know there's a satanic church in Birmingham? Did y'all know this? Did y'all know that?" And we're like, "Why are you telling us this?"
He started telling us things that he had no business telling. And then did he not tell us that he was actually a former member?
Yes. He said he was a member of this church. It was in Birmingham. About the occult here is real. It's all underground. You'd be surprised the people that go to it. And I mean, just telling us fine details, very fine details of stuff.
And it begins to thunder and lightning. And
I'm talking about bad storm.
Yeah. He is telling us things that completely, that he shouldn't have known to tell us, but he told us. You know, it's one thing coming to talk, but he came up, sat down, and just started spilling the beans. And ever since then, that's when I started looking into the occult, and even kind of had that whole book outlined and stuff about doing the ones in the occult, ritual abuse, and everything else. And from that point on, I've been kind of hooked on it, and ever since then, I don't think I've really been not had it in the back of my mind in any way, shape, or form. I don't think it really comes into play publicly as much as people realize. You know, what do you think about it, Jake?
The biggest thing that I kind of wonder about with this stuff, okay, people say satanic cult, right? Now, you've got LaVeyan Satanism, which denies any kind of theistic Satan.
That's self-worship.
Self-worship.
I
right?
mean, when you talk about the LaVey clique, that's basically self-worship. A lot of people get
it's very
symbolism
muddled.
confused with being a Satanist in that.
Yeah.
Correct, Jay?
They do. And it makes you wonder exactly what the hell it is they're doing, because there's no good reference to like what rituals they're doing, you know, why they're doing it. You know, people say, well, this is a satanic calendar. Not really. That's mostly from a bastardization of like Wiccan holidays and
Or the witch's almanac or the witch's calendar. And
yeah, it's really a bastardization of that.
yes.
So and with what they're doing, it's completely off the books as far as I know. Like, does anybody have any insight into what they're actually worshiping, doing? Now, I understand if it's like a drug cult, like what's going on, what happened on the border of Mexico and Texas, you know, where that kid got abducted and they found out he was basically sacrificed to protect a drug shipment.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of that in South America. That happens. That's real time happening.
Right. That's
blood sacrifices, human sacrifices over the drug cartels, the drugs. I mean, they still believe in a lot of that in South America and in South Mexico. I guess the Mexican region.
And that's basically a form of Santeria for the most part, as far as any kind of magical system. So, like, what the hell are these people doing here? What are they doing?
I agree with Hump with the sex trafficking, the drug stuff. But let me ask you this: that gentleman told us something about a mass execution ritual that went on, and they used actually call girls. Well, have you ever heard that before? And you didn't want to talk about it.
You know, we were talking about this. I'll tell you something that's really funny. It's really funny and sad. And y'all noticed how many missing people have popped up this past year?
Oh, yeah.
Since January for 2017, how many missing people just vanished? And I'm going to be honest with you. You can Google search this. A lot of them are females. Young females between the ages of 16 to 25. And that strikes me very odd. Now, this is just my beliefs and what I'm thinking, you know. That has a lot to do with some of these occults. But, Jake, back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
A lot of these so-called occults, they'll take symbolism such as the Wiccan calendar or witch's almanac, and they'll make their watered-down version of their cult, and they'll call themselves a cult. Because, you know, for some listeners that don't really understand or know what we're talking about, you know, you have witches' covens, you have satanic cults, you have the Church of Satan, you have all these different crazy things going on.
You've got a different type of witch
for
other than
everything.
Wicca.
But you have it for everything, and people take it,
Like
they'll take a little
satanic witch,
symbolism, and they'll make it their own. But as far as what we're talking about is like the really, the black internet, the very
the dark net.
dark net of the satanic
I like how
rituals.
you really just call the dark net the black internet.
The black internet.
Do you know how to
Is
get
there
the dark
KFC
net?
on?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I tried looking into it, and I'm scared to go on any computer to look around to try to get to it, because you got to keep going to different sites and knowing where to click and keep doing it. And if any, you know, I'm not really that smart, but that IP address on that laptop or computer you use, it don't never go away.
Well, there's ways around that.
Really, Jake?
Well, how do you get
tell
around
our
it,
listeners
Jake?
and tell me how to do it.
All right, okay. What you're talking about is the dark net, what they call the dark net. all that really means is a cache of or any internet site or service or bulletin board that is not listed on a normal web crawler like Google.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about the really messed up stuff, most of the time that is a password protected bulletin board, which David could probably tell you.
Correct.
And
Uh-huh.
you have to know the exact IP address of that bulletin board. It's going to be like a really weird website. And you might have to use a Tor browser or some other kind of onion browser to actually even access it. And those website addresses aren't like www.kittyporn.com. It's more like 1gz.ab234. You know, it's really cryptic.
Cryptic coded.
Yeah, unless someone told you that it was a member, you wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff people are really saying about it. A lot of things that people associate with the darknet were Tor, onion sites, which that is a way of, okay, you know how you torrent something? It's sharing, right, between a bunch of different people, little bytes of data to make up one big thing, right? And you are both on your phones.
I'm listening to you.
I'm listening to you, Jake Bell.
It's distracting.
You to who? Not
Me.
me. You can't do multiple things at one fucking time. Jesus
Damn,
Christ!
Jake.
You was on such a good roll, and you had us.
You know what this is going to be? Is the angry cast. Is what we should really be.
No.
There's so much anger that just poured out of Sean right
Well, hell, Jake, you was doing so good.
now.
Wasn't he flowing good? It
It's-
was the best part.
That's why I was looking at something else. I wanted to segue into yours,
That-
but
that-
now that you fucked it up for everybody,
This anger is thick and tasty.
God,
Jake, I really
It's
had
like
something good I
Heinz
wanted to
chili
segue
sauce.
into your comments.
Jesus Christ, Jake.
Damn.
Oh, let's see. Anyway, what people were thinking, like when you said the darknet, was the hidden wiki
Correct.
of Tor,
Mhm.
and mostly it's just kitty porn.
Well, I don't want to be involved in any of that, and I don't
Yeah,
want to see
I
that
mean,
shit.
That's what
But-
disappointed a lot of people because they're like, I'm going to get on there and get government secrets.
No, but I will tell you this,
Hire an
and we can
assassin.
segue into this.
Yeah.
For our listeners that want something really up to date, that they can look themselves, you're talking about the sex trafficking, human trafficking, the drug trade, the human sacrifice. I'll give you the biggest story that has come out in the past few months.
All right.
The MS-13 gang killings are satanic sacrifices. The El Salvadorian gangs that are coming up, migrating through South America, Mexico, into the United States,
Yeah.
it's all satanic groups, all satanic murders. The most recent one we've had was March the 3rd of this year. They were arrested in Texas, the two teens that killed the girl. That was a satanic ritual killing.
You know, okay,
You know.
let's think about it from this aspect. Okay, you're a leader of a gang, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You got like 30 dudes under you at least.
But these are cold, hardened killers, Jake.
How do you keep them on a leash? What's the best way to do it? A cult, man.
Occult satanic killings.
Ritual initiation, that sort of thing. That's a great way to do it. And I think that ties in a lot to that case that I was talking about. I can't remember the name of the town in Mexico, but it was right there on the border.
Yeah. And yeah, I remember. I know exactly what you.
I think that's like a symptom of a larger disease there.
Yeah.
Like I think that happens more often than maybe it's been let on.
His name was Constantine, wasn't he?
Something like that.
And you know, but he was also a psychic to some stars too.
Yeah. He was.
And he actually made a living off protecting drug trade with his rituals and sacrifices.
Yep.
And he just made the mistake of grabbing an American that was coming over the border to party.
Exactly. That was his only mistake there.
That's exactly what happened.
And think about all the killings that happened, you know, in the big cities, you know, where they had just bodies turn up in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, think about all that. Do you really think that's the only dude in Mexico doing that?
Oh, absolutely.
You
not.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Vice did a really good thing on that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They did one on that, and they did one on that town in Mexico that's really cool. It's like full of psychics. Remember?
Yes.
I thought that was a good.
That is cool. But the whole satanic rituals and the cults and stuff.
Yeah.
It ties in to me. If you look at the Son of Sam, the Atlanta child murders, all that stuff, it ties together. It's something to it.
It does. And do you ever get the feeling like you call it satanic because there's just no better word for it at the moment?
No.
Like, do I think they are worshiping a theistic Satan?
No, I think it's a good way to write a story on some of this.
No, they're worshiping something. They're making sacrifices to deities for power and benefits from it.
Absolutely. They're more demon worshipping, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I watched a good documentary today for a little bit, and it's the guy that I think that did the documentaries on Biggie Smalls and Tupac.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? That English guy?
That dude. Yeah.
He did one on the vampire culture and drinking blood.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And it's a really good one. And it kind of, to me, you think about it, what they're doing, and he starts talking about some of the ones that gets into the rituals and different things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's really almost these deities, what they're trying to tap into to get these powers and stuff. And they learn these rituals to tap into different stuff.
I don't drink blood. I'm a psychic vampire.
Yeah. God.
Drain your energy.
Well, you know what? Let's segue into this. The question
All right, go.
that was sent to us.
Go for
because
it.
that has something to do with what we're actually talking
All
about.
right, let's do it.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't the question, how do you
stop a demon from stalking you?
Yeah.
It was very close to that.
This guy thinks that a demon stalking him, my opinion for it is going to be way off from y'all.
All right, let's hear yours.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think I know him a little bit. I think what he has is something generational. I think it's something that's always been around him, that's been in his family. And if we were able to sit and talk to him, I believe we would come up with a lot of things that have happened in his family throughout years. From childhood to being a teen to young man into middle age as we are.
Now, that's an assumption, but you're very
that's
close.
my opinion.
You're one
because
step.
I kind of know him.
You're one step removed from my answer, which is, well, you have to answer the question, what's it doing there? And that's one of those possible answers. To even know if it's possible.
It's a semi-vague question.
And we had a case recently, kind of similar, where people just get obsessed about the why.
Correct.
Why? What is it? And they will not listen to you.
No, and you're right. You're absolutely right. They'll come to us with a problem. We'll go and I guess semi-investigate it. Give them some of the answers that they want, and they'll go, well, no, that's not true. And we're going, well, yes, we've got 30 years experience of doing this.
Yeah.
30 years of experience of doing this, saying, hey, if you change this, this, and this is going to help you. And they go, oh, no, it's not. And I'm like, well, all right, why didn't you call us? If you're going to come to us with a question, we take time to go over it, go over the problems you're having, let Sean do his little thing, and we go, hey, this, and this needs to change. And then they just, no, they won't go through with it, or they just won't do it.
Riddle me
or
this.
they're in denial.
Yeah, I was trying to find this Bible verse that was very fitting to this, and and I think it's 1 Peter 5:8, and that's what I'm trying to find. If you can find it, maybe. But to answer that question, I think a lot of it is generational, and I think a lot of times with certain people, demons are stalking. But
yeah, sure.
But it's very much if you're marked. There's no other way to say it but to be honest. If you're marked, and whatever caused that mark, which a lot of people spend too much time on what caused the mark. But if you're marked, you're either going to be chasing your demon or it's going to be chasing you.
Yep.
So you have to make the sober decision is to chase it and to know that you're constantly battling it. And to know that when it's close and when it's away, and it's something you're going to have to always deal with. And I think that's something that you have to keep in mind. And I found it. It's 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. And I think that's very fitting what's out there. And I think so many times we forget about it. And somebody thinks, oh, well, I'm being stalked by a demon or I'm being attacked and da-da-da. And you constantly think it's doomed, that you're doomed. It could also mean that you're chosen to do things too.
Yeah. Suffering's a blessing.
Yes. So it's a spiritual battle and warfare. And I think we said this for the past few weeks. If you don't think you're involved in a spiritual battle for souls, you're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely wrong. There's a battle going on every day of your life, and you have to fight that fight with faith and hope.
I want to get your opinion on this, Sean. It's
Right.
something that I don't think I've ever asked you about, that I've noticed in almost every single case where it's kind of legit.
Okay.
Why do they repeat the same stories over and over and over and over? And like, you just call to say, hey, we're going to be here this time, and it's an hour-long conversation.
You know, I think because they're haunted so much, and they need somebody to believe them so bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much of a hollow hurt, pain, confusion, and fear inside. And at the same time, when you are attacked in these real cases, there is some mental illness, because there is no way in hell for you to be attacked in that way by such a strong force that it don't mess with you mentally. And I think when you're attacked mentally, spiritually, physically, that sometimes you repeat these stories, you tell these things because you've got to say it out loud for it to make any sense to you to believe it. Because one of the things I've learned in these cases is they can sit there and look you in the eye and tell you the exact same story they told you 3 times on the phone.
Yeah.
And while they're telling you, they're questioning themselves as they're telling you. And it's the exact same story they told you 3 to 6 times or whatever before.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when it comes out loud to them, they don't want to remember it and they don't want to believe it. Is what I believe.
So it's them really trying to come to grips with it.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And I agree with that touch of mental illness that happens.
Yeah. And there's no way for you not to have that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like a tragic when a brave soldier defends the country and goes to war. He's never the same. You know.
War as hell.
Yeah. And there's a spiritual war going on. And those that are awake, that has that shine about themselves, do not be mistaken that no matter how bright you may shine with your soul, the enemy sees you and he wants to put that light out. And he will put it out any way he possibly can. And he will come to you by your weakness, whatever it may be, whether it's a woman, whether it's drugs, alcohol, food, laziness, whatever it is, he will come get you and get you at your weakness.
Laziness, huh?
I said women, and I said food. I got us all.
I know you did.
But the point is, we're human.
I think my weakness is helping Sean Sellers.
Oh, you kidding me?
joking,
Really?
I'm joking.
Everybody has vices.
I want to say, but don't they go back to what we started a few weeks ago as far as our conversations going? That is it the place haunted or is it them being haunted? And when they get to that point to where they're starting to call,
all right,
and because everything's at the touch of your finger now, Jake. All these shows, like if you have a problem, you're going to manifest it by wanting to look on the internet, wanting to look at a TV show, and then calling us.
All right. This is the way you got to tackle that question. Is a place haunted or is a person haunted? If you want to break it down like that, this is the way you got to look at it. Does your ass believe that in this little house in Gettysburg, the Civil War soldier's ghost, like his spirit, what makes him human, is still there, roaming about, doing things, kicking chairs, rattling chains, scaring cats and shit? Is that what he's really doing? Do you believe that's what's there with all your heart? If you do, then I guess that place is haunted, because even if there's no one there. If you don't, that's a whole other can of worms, right?
Yeah. You know, as we talk about this stuff, I mean, I had to move because my back hurts. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But, when we talk about this stuff, so many of our cases and stuff that we do, you completely put them away and you don't want to remember and talk about them. But as you start to talk about instances like this, you're reminded of things and they come back and kind of haunt you. And I'll tell you this, the first dark case that I ever worked, is a case that came about from a young lady who got pregnant, senior in high school. Her father got a house for her and her husband. He basically got the house extremely cheap. He was a well-to-do citizen in that neighborhood. You know, in that small town.
That's a good
He
day.
got them a house. He got them it's an older house, of course, in a small North Alabama Tennessee line town, and it was 2-story the whole nine. The paranormal teams come in. Well, some of the things that's happened, they've had scratching on the walls. They've had scents. Had different smells. One of the things that happened to me that always stood out is that their baby actually turned, and you don't hear this, but this case happened, is that their baby was in a crib and something turned the crib over. So it was just horrendous things like that happening. And the case was turned over, and the team came in and did the investigation, and they ended up getting some of the craziest EVPs I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, I remember this.
It was actually hearing of people screaming. If you can imagine hell where they're screaming and clear, it was absolutely that way. So the case was turned over to us. The case got passed down to 2 or 3 teams, I guess, I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you remember telling me about it like that.
And then when we got the case, we went there, and the first thing we did was we went and interviewed the neighbors.
Right.
I mean, and that's something that out of all the teams there, nobody done that. And then when we started interviewing the neighbors and everything else, come to find out there was an African American family that lived there, and their entire church came to that house and surrounded it and prayed.
Ooh.
There was like 4 different tenants there. Inside the house there was and I think this come up once again before, I believe, but on this case it was the same thing. There was a Jewish type of cleansing done with markings made. Well, when we had the case and we did that, we did the interview, it was actually, we came back and we met with a Catholic priest who had the case. And we watched him, and it was me and James Kirkley was with him, and he had to bless everything that wasn't attached to you. He had to bless it for you to go in there. And I didn't realize at the time what an honor it was to just take a part in it, And I don't know why he allowed me and James to take the part. The other team didn't go, but James and I went.
You needed helpers.
We did it. We went, and he went through every room. It was amazing to me how meticulous he was, how nothing was left throughout. And it was undoubtedly when he pinpointed the entity, when he came across something, because the room temperature changed. It didn't get cold. It got extremely hot. And I remember to this day hearing this noise. And James Kirkley looked at me and says, "Something fucking just hit me." And he pulled his shirt up, and he had the claw marks on him. And that priest turned to James and started blessing him again. And James had the claw marks, but the interesting thing is, like, when he had his shirt up, and I remember, I don't know why I remember it like I did yesterday, we literally watch it get hot. It's almost like, you know how you maybe have a stove, and you turn it on and it starts to go, you know how it's black and it starts to light up red?
Yeah.
We watched it turn red with the claw marks on top of it. And that's when the priest started doing his thing.
Yeah.
He did his things throughout, and when we got outside, he blessed us again. There was it was actually a lady, almost like a nun, but she wasn't all nunned out. That was with them, that was outside with the family, and there was another man that was driving, a younger guy driving. And to this day, I don't know why, but he told he told that team that he's done what he was going to do and he wasn't going to come back. And they left. And I remember we left, and James and I went back home. We let it go, and then we got a call one day that paranormal team actually took their EVPs up there and played it for the family in the house.
I
Wow.
think that story
That
is
sounds
the
weird.
seed that was planted in me to hate evidence collection like that.
Yeah.
It ain't evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's you fucking around with something you don't understand.
Let me
And
ask you a
it
question.
all came back. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question with that, because I've seen it numerous different places. Do y'all believe in doing the EVP sessions now and just stopping and playing them for everybody?
If I'm gonna do one, that's how it's done.
I'm not gonna take it home and play it
No.
and
Play it.
save it.
I'm
for
not
everybody
taking
to
it
hear.
across my threshold. No.
No, I'll play it in real time there
Yeah.
and note it because I really don't care anymore who I'm impressed with what I get.
No.
And I think that's the big thing. You know, if we're actually working these private cases, you might disagree. You let me know what you think. But if we're here working a private case, we're not trying to get on TV. We're not trying to get famous. We're trying to find answers.
Correct.
And that's evidence that we can collect, but not evidence that we want to put out as entertainment purposes only.
You know, I'm almost to the point to where if you're going to collect the evidence, why play it at all? I mean, it's almost like a show and tell. I've seen 2 different investigations that went live. They would run for about 15, 20 minutes and stop, run everything back, and play it out loud for everybody there. It was almost, to me, just like it's a lot of show and tell. But for me, I would probably, if I was going to do that part of the research where I wanted to record everything, I don't think I would play it at all unless, you know, just for myself.
Now,
And then document everything, because if you're a real good investigator, you're going to be documenting everything you do anyway. Then
you're a journalist.
Yeah,
you're a fucking fancified journalist.
correct. So documentation's the key.
I got mad.
But you
You
know,
did get
but you know what, Jake? I'm gonna agree with you though. I think that was the point that the evidence kind of sickened us a little bit.
It did. I mean, because it went against everything I believed at a certain point. I understand people get interested in it. It's very interesting, the whole spectral aspect of things, like, because it deals with very important questions like what happens to a spirit, to a human consciousness after death, right? Everyone
Yeah.
kind of wants to know. And what happened is you had some assholes take advantage of that and put it on TV and produce it, and it led to people thinking a certain way that things were done on TV was the correct way. Like, okay, a K2 meter, what does it work off of, David?
Magnetic energy.
Electromagnetic waves. What the hell? Who correlates that? Okay, so do you know for sure that electromagnetic energy is a ghost?
No.
No, you don't.
Hell, we've had activity all around us and nothing.
No.
All that, and it wasn't anything to do with electromagnetics.
Screw it.
It all deals with human perception, that immeasurable quantity. And what you're trying to do is take a device that is not meant for what you're using it for and trying to bend some sort of results out of the ether based on things that aren't controlled, and it's not evidence. It's not. You're like, hey, I got this weird EVP thing. Okay. Worst case scenario, you don't know what you have. It's somebody zipping up a zipper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
David Humphrey after he's done.
God,
Yep.
man. Professional.
Credible.
Zip. Respectable.
Yeah.
They don't understand what they've got. Best case, in their world, is it's an actual disembodied spirit or entity. And that can hurt people.
Yeah.
Like the story Sean said, If you have something like that, that's not something you want to carry around.
No.
It needs to be erased.
Man, is it just on your mind, man?
It got
I
me.
know, I'm talking about, has he been on your mind?
Yeah, James has been
The
on
past
my
few
mind.
days or
Yeah,
something?
he has. He
Okay.
has. He has been on my mind. And we got the picture. When did I get that picture today?
Today.
We
which
got a
was
picture
wild.
today, so it's been a weird time.
A picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a picture of all of us in New Orleans.
You know,
Oh, that one that's on
Yeah,
Facebook.
it just showed up. But he was been on my mind, I guess, a lot,
past.
We
Yeah.
were talking about him last weekend, right?
Yeah, we sure was, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you think about it. I mean, I brought James in, and James went wide open, and he didn't
He
even
sure
know what he was
did.
getting into.
Yeah. I mean, he would play a cool front, but he was just as down as anybody.
He was. And, you know, he was a very good investigator.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to worry about James.
He never sugarcoated anything with anybody
No.
doing this work.
Like, if we're going to go to, like, a good story, one of my favorites is when he was down in those caves.
Yeah.
Where were you guys
With
at?
Sarah Bell.
We was in Chilton County.
Right.
And he was
trying
down
to find
in
the
some
peach
kind of-
monster.
Over there by Sarah Crockett's grave.
Yeah, trying to find the peach monster.
And there were some caves, and he went down. He wanted to explore. James was the first one to jump right the hell in.
Yes.
Just jumped down a cave.
And they were talking back and forth on walkies. Sean and James, you know, a few other people had them, including Sarah Bell.
Yep.
And one of you said, you know, be careful, don't go opening any doors down there, meaning, you know, be careful as far as what you get into spiritually. Like, don't open any spiritual doors, you know, don't invite anything in.
Well, you know how it came up? Let me tell you how it came up.
Go for it.
You know, we was all there, and I think it was Patty Davis. She asked, did we want them to? It was James and another gentleman if they wanted them to do an EVP session down there.
Yeah.
And James quickly responded, "You remember Hump? That no, I don't want to open up any doors down here."
Yeah.
That's how it came up.
Open doors.
And that's when Sarah Bell had the walkie-talkie and said, "They have doors down there."
Meaning she thought they were actual physical doors.
And he started violently cussing over the
Yes, he
walkie-talkie.
did. I like that story. I wasn't even there, and I love that story.
Yep.
And then he poked me in the eye in the Whataburger drive-thru really
He
hard.
did, and he instantly just felt
Just
horrible.
accidentally. It just ruined my night
It did.
completely. It
It
was
did.
just such a hard jab.
Wow. You know, how do y'all think tonight's show's been? We was kind of unprepared. We sat there. We kind of rolled with it. Went all over the
I
place.
think if you like the serious shows, this is a good one.
Yeah, this is going to be a real good one because we talked about a lot of in-depth serious stuff.
This is the first like real, actual serious one I think
we've had.
You asked for it, Jake, and you got it.
But you know what? We have
I
better
didn't ask
shows.
for serious. I asked for.
Jake,
Oh, okay.
Jake.
I'll just shut up.
We've had better shows by not being prepared. Have y'all not noticed
Yeah.
that?
Well, we as a team, us three work extremely well together. Doing this stuff, we really do.
I mean, we've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, we better.
Yeah.
But you know, for everybody that is listening, I definitely want to thank somebody. I want to thank Deborah Gallagher. You what? She sends me a lot of information, a lot of podcast shows, a lot of stuff to keep me intrigued and reading and researching. And man, I appreciate it because she lives in Florida, South Florida, and she's helping us out here in Montgomery. And I do appreciate
You know,
it.
I do thank her too. She is super sharp with this, with everything spiritual in this field and everything else. She's always been supportive of us, and I appreciate her very much. I want to also thank Callie out there for supporting us, listening to our show, spreading the word, and everybody out there as well.
Yeah, we deeply appreciate it. And it goes back, if you got any questions or concerns or even topics for a show, all you have to do is get up with us on Facebook. It's not hard.
Is that what she said?
That is not what she said.
I think we'll end on that note.
Yes.
No.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.